of today.
Okay. So, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very proud. This was the first IPEN event which takes place on Data Protection Day, and you've been part of that conversation today. I'm very glad that we had a number of important experts and researchers in privacy engineering on our panels today, and that we also learned something about important practical initiatives which are advancing privacy engineering and privacy enhancing technologies. At the same time, I sense that we've had fascinating conversations, but some of us are maybe also somewhat disillusioned. From my own perspective, and Wojciech has mentioned that, we've had, for example, a discussion on what is privacy by design for a long time. There was a Commission communication in 2007 on privacy enhancing technologies. The GDPR has entered into force or was adopted in 2016. And Article 25 of the GDPR was meant to end the discussion. Article 25 of the GDPR was meant to make it clear that a certain business model has come to an end. The best personal data is the one which is never collected to begin with. That's what Article 25 GDPR actually says. And the idea behind the GDPR is to make our digital lives as easy as opening the tap in your house if you want to drink some safe drinking water. So, are we there yet? We are today here in 2019 and we're still having the discussion. We're still discussing the need for common language between lawyers and software developers. Still the need for common language between managers and engineers. We still have the challenge for privacy engineers how to fit into that discussion. And we hear that the quest for formalizing privacy engineering is still not accomplished, at least on the other side of the big pond. So we're still having all of these discussions which we are very familiar with. And we do see a massive, massive need, for example, for data protection by design. We've heard on the needs by NGOs and political activists to find other tools for collaboration, for meetings. We have this need today. So, at the same time, I'm not going to be too negative. I do see light at the end of the tunnel, and I think you've sensed that as well. There are signs for optimism in 2019 and beyond. We do have Article 25 of the GDPR. We have a very wide scope of application of the GDPR. It's not only for those who develop in the EU, it's for those who develop stuff destined for EU consumption. Article 25 is a legally binding requirement for controllers, for processes. And these don't actually have a choice anymore between data protection friendly apps or services or not data protection friendly apps or services. That's where the fines come in. If you choose the wrong product, the DPAs will fine you. That's what the GDPR says. And I hear that there is still quite a lot of work for manufacturers, for buyers, for end users, for DPAs to be done. But then at the same time, I hear if those want to hear about DPA's expectations, there are some low-hanging fruits for DPAs. For example, from a DPA perspective, from a data protection authority's perspective, we've heard about the SDKs and the APIs. Okay, so if a DPA goes and names and shames the bad apples, perfect, then you have solved 80% probably of the problem. If there is a need to define finally what is state of the art for certain areas, DPAs should go and define what is state of the art so that people know it. And at the same time, I see how competition and innovation works. The starting gun has been fired. The 25th of May is there. We've heard some stories about some who start thinking creatively and innovatively about solutions which might disrupt the current systems and which will lead to more effective solutions also for end users. Article 42 certification can be a way as well. So that's maybe an optimistic outlook, but I think it's been worthwhile to have this discussion today at IPEN. Our next IPEN workshop will be a full-day workshop in Rome, Italy, on the 12th of June 2019, the day before the ENISA Annual Privacy Forum, and therefore you are cordially invited to already block your calendars.